Quick lessons from books. The War on Normal People by Andrew Yang. Full disclosure, I would be an original Yang Gang member. I am one, so you can see by the Vaporwave hat and not the math hat. This is the black market, very rare version of the original Yang Gangers. So, obviously, I'm pro Andrew Yang. Now, I'll give everybody a fair chance. I like some of his ideas. Now, one of the ideas that you probably have heard about is UBI, and I'm not going to talk about UBI. There are plenty of other videos. What I like to talk about is his digital social credits program, which you probably haven't heard about because they don't spend a lot of time talking about this on in the media. But to me, this is one of his more unique, powerful ideas. Now, he has tons of different ideas, but this is one of the ones that actually catches me. Now, it's not like the Chinese social credit program. We're not spying on citizens to make sure that they're fulfilling their responsibilities and treating people the way that the communist government wants them to treat. This is not like some sort of invasive privacy issue. The digital social credit system is basically a time banking system. Well, what's that? So, for example, let's say you help someone out around their house for 4 hours. You bank 4 hours of time. And you can use those 4 hours to get services provided to you. Maybe you need someone to babysit your kid on Friday night. Well, you got 4 hours banked from helping out fixing someone's house. Now you can spend that to get someone to come babysit for you. So it's basically it's a bartering of time and services of skills. It's really cool because it brings out some of those skills and services that don't become part of the economy, that you might be really good at something and that skill is being wasted every day because there is no real way to use that skill. So this brings out a lot of unused economic activity. When you free clip art Google mother or mom, this is what comes up. So another example of the patriarchy holding women down. So let's fix it and let's go with this. So we're looking for, that was single mother. So when you clip art single mother. So I went and found this one. And in the story, which when Yang in The War on Normal People talks about the digital social credits, he gives a story, real life example of a time banking system. And in this anecdote, we talk about Sally or Susan, I can't remember her name, single mother, and she's got a lot of stuff that needs done, but she, doesn't have the time, doesn't have the skills, and doesn't have the money to get them done. Her water heater's broken. She has repairs needed around the house. She needs someone to come haul away some things. She can't do them. She can't get those things done. And in a normal economy, those activities just won't get done. The water heater is never going to get fixed. The repairs around the house are never going to get fixed because she doesn't have the money, time, or the skills. She needs things hauled away. It's never going to happen. Now, in a time banking system, these jobs can get taken care of, which eliminates or alleviates a lot of stress. It leads to her life being better, leads to her children's life being better. And all this happens in a time banking system. It does not happen in a normal economy, which you and I live in. You know what it's like to have something broken around your house. You can't afford to fix it. You don't know how to fix it. And you just live under the constant fear, boy, I hope that water heater doesn't get worse, which it will. It's going to break at some point, and then you run some sort of debt paying for it and have to make a sacrifice with something else that you were going to do. Not a good system. So she just doesn't have time to do this. Ain't nobody got time for that. Time banking system. So Randy steps in. That Randy, yes, this clip art's probably not free and the video's going to get taken down. Randy volunteers to help because he's looking for a date. Hey, whatever, don't judge Randy. He likes to volunteer in the community because he is a newly divorced man and he's looking for the ladies. And he thinks, well, by volunteering, I can definitely meet some new single ladies. He meets them, but that's probably where it ends. Anyway, Randy helps out with fixing the water heater. He makes repairs around the house, helps hauling away the stuff, and he earns 10 credit hours. She runs a deficit, but a deficit's fine. You need to run deficits as long as they're not really low, because if everyone starts at zero, then no one has any credits to spend. If you allow someone to earn a deficit, then that leads to a positive somewhere else, and then that person spends that positive somewhere else, and it actually gets the system rolling. So it's not a big problem to have these deficits rolling in time banking, and he earns the credits, which he likes, didn't really get the date, and she gets these jobs fixed. And so now although she's running a deficit here, she'll eventually find a way to work that off, and her life is moving. This happens in a time banking system. Another benefit of this time banking system is you don't have to beg your family and friends to do jobs for you. You know what that's like. Now, in some families, there's a really good relationship and no one really runs a deficit. You're never the one that's always asking, but that's not really the case. A lot of times you're either always the one that's asking or you're the one that's always doing, and it creates tough relationships. It creates strife between family members. Sometimes it can divide a family, makes family members not like each other. It's just not the best situation. Whereas if we have Randy and Sally, Randy is more than willing to do the work because he's looking for a date. And Sally's more than welcome to let him to do the work, although she's not looking for a date, but she needs these things done. And so when Randy shows up, he's gung-ho and ready to do it because he's looking for a date. And he's really nice and really pleasant, and she doesn't feel any guilt or shame, although she might be a little bit weirded out because he's looking for a date. Either way, the jobs get done, and there aren't any problems. As opposed to, if you have that friend who has a truck or a family member that has a truck, you're always asking them, hey, this person's moving or we need help hauling this away. That person in the truck is always, their weekends don't exist because every weekend for the guy with the truck is helping out cousin Joey or helping out nephew Timmy or helping out the guy down the street because he bought a pickup truck. Lesson learned, don't buy a pickup truck or just become a jerk. That's your option. If you're going to pick up a truck, be a jerk. So Randy's got these hours. Now, unfortunately, Randy never gets a date. Sorry. Yeah, who saw that coming? But one of the positives is Randy often donates his hours because he doesn't really need it. Randy's doing fine on his own. And so he donates the hours to people that need it and also donates it to community organizations. He also, because Randy has a real business that he runs when he's not just helping people out, when he's helping people out, he gives them his business card and said, hey, if you ever have this or that need, which my regular business does, give me a call. Or if you know of a friend or a family member or someone in the community that has this or that need that relates to my business, tell them about me. So it's a good way for him to advertise. And then also he's able to increase his circle of friends. Now, when you Google search free clip art, circle of friends, unfortunately, the only thing that comes up are adolescent and teenage girls holding hands. And no, Randy did not make a bunch of friends with the Yaya Sisterhood. That would be weird, but this is the only picture that I could come up with that really looked like a circle of friends. That's good. Long story short, Randy meets new people, builds better relationships, makes more friends, and that's exactly what the biggest benefit of a time banking system is bringing the community together. Randy, Sally, these friends, these people would never have been together. They would have never worked together. They would have never looked out for each other. They would have never cared about each other. But all these relationships are created through a time banking system. Now, it's good that we get the goods and services created and people get needs met. But the bigger idea is bringing the community together. Now, she's actually able to get rid of her deficit, get back in the black by taking advantage of some of the own skills that she has, which is volunteering for babysitting. And then also there's a garden party. And Sally and her children actually have a family band and they go and play for 4 hours at the garden party. And, they do something fun that brings their family together and serves other people. There's 2 fiddlers, there's a guitarist, and then there's a penny whistle player. Now that's actually the sound of a slide whistle, but when I heard penny whistle in the story, I thought of slide whistle. And I thought of there's this one kid in the family who's just a pure goofball and a waste. And mom doesn't want to spend money to send him to a babysitter. So just mom drags him along and says, here's this slide whistle. When I point to you, play. And then Sally proceeds to never point at him once. And the whole time he's like, is this the time when I come in? Is this the time when I come in? No, not yet. And then, after the guitar, that's when I come in. No, he just sits there the entire time while the fiddler's fiddling and the guitar's playing, and then he's just like, what am I doing here? What's the point of this? But anyway, that's what I thought of. And, when Grandma hears the slide whistle, she can't help but boogie. Also, Grandpa, too, when he gets it going, you just better clear the dance floor because the slide whistle is booming. And when I hear that slide whistle, I can't help but just throw away my canes and get it, Grandpa. No way that this is not going to get taken down. RFK. And I know what you're thinking. Is that LBJ with a microphone or is that LBJ with a slide whistle? It's an old school microphone. So RFK, his speechwriter, who's RFK? I'm not going to go into that Google search it. You can find out. Famous politician, no longer with us, Kennedy, etc. His speechwriter looks at the government programs that provide services for people, and he knows that they do good. SNAP or food stamps, it helps people survive. It helps people. It's absolutely important to individual families. Medicaid, another great program that helps individuals and low-income families. Subsidized housing, another government program that helps people individually. But what it doesn't do is help the community. If you look at these programs, if you look at communities that overwhelmingly receive food stamps, subsidized housing, Medicaid, you're going to find some of the toughest, worst neighborhoods in our country, unfortunately. So although the government is pouring money in to help out the individuals, this money is not helping out the community. So RFK speechwriter says we need government programs that, yes, these are good. We need people to eat. We need housing and we need health care for low-income families. But we also need to fix the community because if we don't fix the community is going to continue to deteriorate. You're going to have more crime. You're going to have violence. You're going to have even more community-based programs. So he's thinking, what kind of government program can we create that will not only help out individually, but will bring the community together? And his plan is the time banking system. He says what we need is something that will rebuild families because Through a time banking system, you eliminate a lot of the scarcity and stress that often strips or rips families apart. And if you keep the families together, then also you're going to bring the neighborhoods together because the program allows people in the neighborhood to work with each other. And when you're working with each other and helping each other out, you come together and you tend to look out for each other. You protect each other. You make sure that your neighborhood is safe. You don't get that. You do not get that unless you have a time banking system or some sort of system that brings people together. Today, in most communities, we don't have a time banking system that brings people together. Everyone receives their own individual resources and everyone remains individually separated. We need a system that forces people together. And it doesn't really force you together because, hey, you're going to come babysit for me and I don't have to spend any money. Sure thing. Hey, what's your name again? Oh, cool. Hey, nice to meet you. Wow. See how easy that works? And the same thing helps with communities. Randy and Sally would have never met if it wasn't for the time banking system. Randy would never have built his circle of friends if it wasn't for the time banking system. And so RFK creates this program RFK speechwriter, Khan, C-A-H-N, I believe is the name, creates this program in Vermont. There's 300 of these programs all across the country, but the one that Yang focuses mainly on is the program in Vermont. And what Yang wants to do is take this thing nationally, take this thing federally, take this idea and spread it across the country because, yeah, it's great because it provides services and goods that helps out the individual, but more importantly, it brings people together. And that's absolutely what we need to do if we want to help out our neighborhoods and our communities where we have excessive amounts of violence. We have an alarming rate of suicides. We have an opioid epidemic. And if people were together and people were watching out for each other, then you would see declines in those numbers. So I know I just talked about opioid and I'm showing a needle, but what I'm using this needle for is he wants to put this time banking system on steroids. He wants to juice it up. We're not talking about opium. I didn't even think about that. I did now. So his program is called a digital social credits program, which he's probably going to want to rebrand considering that the Chinese have a social credit system where they're invading people's privacy and judging people and penalizing people for, you didn't look both ways before you walked across the street. You think I'm joking, but it's honestly this stuff that's happening in China. So now China's I'm sorry, China, I didn't really mean it. So how the system works in his system, it's not just going to be a time banking where I earn 5 hours and I can spend that 5 hours. He says in his system, if I work for 5 hours doing construction at your house or helping do repairs, I'll earn actual credit. So I put Bitcoin on there to give you an idea of some sort of digital currency. And then I can use that digital currency not only to buy services like pay for someone to babysit for me or pay for someone to help fix out my house or pay for someone to give me a ride to the doctor. You can use that to buy stuff. And the example he gives is buying NBA tickets. He wants to, again, juice it up, go even bigger, and create a currency so people can purchase more things. Because if you can buy more stuff, then more people are likely to participate. Sure, you're going to allow people to participate when you're trading services, but you'll get even more people to participate when I can go buy Grand Theft Auto 17. Actually, it's Grand Theft Auto 5. They keep releasing the same game for the last 50 years. When will there be a Grand Theft Auto 6? I know what you're saying. Well, they don't really need to change it. They just need to update the map. Well, whatever. You made 5 of them. Why not make 6 of them? The next fear that you probably have is, you're creating a digital currency. Well, when you create more currency, you're going to create inflation, and that's bad for the economy. I hear you, but this actually will not create inflation. So the fear is that you're creating a currency, and then when people have more money, according to Thomas Sowell, they tend to spend more. When people spend more, that's going to increase demand. And we know basic economic principles, when demand goes up, prices go up, and there you go. Basically, you have inflation, a rise in prices resulting from the creation of more money. But that's not what's going to happen because we are also at the same time creating an increase in supply that will balance that out. Normally, when you have inflation, you're just creating money and you're not providing more goods and services. Technically, you are providing more goods and services because the water heater, hauling things away, repairs at the house, babysitting, none of these goods and services existed before, and they will not exist in a normal economy. These goods and services only get provided when you create additional money. These goods and services never existed. Now, you could get hardcore economists that's probably going to argue that, no, technically they could have existed. But my understanding, at least in my defense of Mr. Yang, is that we have increased the supply of goods and services. These supplies of goods and services, these actions never would have happened if it wasn't for the trade of time. That water heater simply just never would have been fixed. Hauling things away would have never been taken away. Now, you could argue that eventually they would have done it. Maybe. I don't know. I've went by a lot of houses that just continue to build up stuff forever, and they never haul the things away. And I've been to plenty enough houses where, that leaky sink just never got fixed, or that running toilet just never it's been running for 20 years. It's already 300 miles away. It's been running for so long. And the water heater, yes, eventually it breaks down and it probably will get replaced. But most of those other things, like that babysitting opportunity, it's just not going to happen. That one night where the babysitter came in with the time system, it happens. If it wasn't for the time banking system, that specific day goes by and that babysitting never happens. So inflation shouldn't happen. Wait and see on that. That's good in service definitely does not exist outside of a time banking system. When was the last time you paid money for someone to come play a slide whistle? You didn't. But when you know, like, hey, I'll give you 4 hours of traded time if you can come rock that slide whistle. Okay, now maybe grandma would have paid some money for you to come and give her a private slide whistle performance, kind of like Michael Bolton with a bunch of candles for Kanye West. But, oh yeah, who's got it? Who did it best? Sorry, gang. I know Grandpa is a classic, but I think Grandma is heating up the charts. 100 million DSCs if Mississippi stops being fat. Now, I'm kind of exaggerating Mr. Yang's words here. Like, why does Andrew Yang hate Mississippi so much? Well, I'm exaggerating. Again, this is an example of him juicing up the system. He wants to go even bigger than what I've already talked about. One of his plans for this system is if the state of Mississippi gets together and has a health initiative where statistically they lower their obesity rate, then the government will provide the state with 100 million DSCs. I don't know if I really am on board with all this. And before you start hammering Andrew Yang for writing the book about Mississippi being fat, look, I just Googled, is Mississippi fat? F as in fat, top 15 fattest U.S. states. There's Mississippi. Mississippi, how fat is your state? That's 37.3%. That's pretty fat. Why are Southerners so fat? Hey, I'm in the South, so look, I guess I'm allowed to say that. Mississippi, most obese state. All right, you know what? I'm probably killing my clicks in Mississippi, but my apologies, people in Mississippi. One of the questions I have is why not just create money? Why not just do dollars? One of the theories that Yang has, now there's not a lot of research behind this, but he points to Yelp, Waze, and Foursquare, where people do a lot of online activities, like where they write Yelp reviews, or the Waze are saying, if you ever use the Waze app, like there's a policeman around the corner. Well, they do that because they earn points for alerting people to traffic jam right here. And they get on their phone and they do those things and they earn points. And that's what the incentive is. And they earn those points, they spend them on, I don't even know what, but they spend them on something, same thing with Foursquare. But it's a point system and it encourages people to do it. And his theory is that, and he doesn't really have a lot of research that backs it up, but I mean, yeah, you can kind of see what it says. When it's a point system, people are more likely to do it than if it was, I just earned 1 penny for reporting that police officer in the speed trap. Like 1 penny. But when it's points, like, oh, well, maybe. So that's his theory here. And another example is if you have earned a bunch of points, you're more than likely to brag about, look, I got 2,000 points. Then if you're like, hey, I got $20. Cool, you got $20, sweet deal. But when you have 2,000 points, you're more than likely to brag about it. And you're more than likely to brag about it online where we actually will create a real clout system. Whereas today, people get clout for doing stupid stuff on the internet and then they just do everything to get more likes and to get more followers. Whereas in this system, hey, here are 2,000 points because he actually went and did something and helped out his community. And other people see you do that. And when other people see you do it and you know they're watching you, it kind of reinforces your behavior. You feel good about it, but you also need to make sure that you keep doing it because people are going to expect that, hey, you earned 2,000, you need to keep with it. When you start bragging about it and talking about it, you start to live it, you start to be it, and you continue to do it. Also, you serve as an advertisement for the system. Other people say, whoa, Randy's got 20,000 points, or Randy just got NBA tickets because he's been raking yards. I need to get in on that and stop spending my time creating stupid YouTube videos and clicking like all day. I got to find this new system. Good idea, gang. Now, obviously, the money thing is good and getting the services is good, but that's not the biggest point of the digital social credits. That's not the biggest point of time banking. The big point is to bring the community together. And if you've seen the jobs disappearing and you've seen the opioid epidemic and you've seen the people getting arrested and you've seen the violence and you've seen the arguments online and the screaming matches and the protests and the yelling and half the country is divided, the best way to bring the country Republican and Democrat or wherever you stand on the spectrum together, the best way to unite the country is to get you to work together and start seeing each other as people instead of, oh, you're a Republican, or maybe I see you as, hey, you're the guy with the pickup truck that helped me haul the stuff away. Oh, you're a human being. Hey, we can talk. We can get along. You can bring the community together through the time banking system, which already exists in a lot of places, but if you bring it nationally, you're going to bring communities together. Once upon a time, we had strong religious background in the country. We had churches that brought a lot of people together. We were unified under similar beliefs. We looked out for each other. Those days are gone. We need again to find a way, and It probably won't be the religious route, but maybe it's through these social programs of helping each other out, because that's in essence what churches really did. They helped each other out. And so we can fill that void by volunteering and assisting and babysitting and raking yards and doing repairs. And through that, sure, you're going to earn services and goods and make your life better, but it's going to make life easier for families. It's going to bring neighborhoods together so they start watching out for each other and start caring for each other and start taking care of each other when they're in need. And it's going to help it out even on a larger community scale. That's the digital social credit program that he writes about in his book, which no one's talking about, which I think more people should talk about. Yes, UBI is interesting and his ideas about automation are interesting. It's just a short passage from his book, The War on Normal People, that I think is grossly going under discussed. Thanks, guys.